She said, "Please, pretend to kiss me, he's watching." I replied, "Everything okay, my love?" Its metal surface reflected the light of distant stars, and inside, human engineers moved quickly, checking systems, repairing modules, and ensuring the colony was running smoothly. The station was a hub of human ingenuity, small, self-contained, and carefully designed to survive the harsh environment of space. Elias walked down the narrow corridor, his boots making a soft thump against the metal floor. His partner, Mara, was already at the observation deck, leaning against the reinforced glass. She always loved watching the gas giant below. To her, the swirling colors and storms looked like living paintings. Elias smiled at her, his heart warming despite the cold metal around them. "Everything okay, my love?" he asked, stepping up beside her. Mara turned, her green eyes wide with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Elias, you won't believe this," she whispered. Her voice was low, cautious, like she didn't want anyone else to hear. She leaned closer. "There's something outside, watching us." Elias frowned, scanning the sky beyond the station. At first he saw nothing unusual. But then he noticed a faint shimmer in the distance, almost like a reflection of light that didn't belong. Something moved with precision, hovering, almost inspecting the station from afar. "Aliens?" Elias asked cautiously. He had studied alien life forms before, through holographic recordings and reports from other stations. But direct contact, that was rare. I think so," Mara said. She took a deep breath and stepped closer to Elias. Then in a sudden, urgent voice she added, "Please pretend to kiss me. He's watching." Elias blinked. The words were strange, almost like a game, but he understood her immediately. It was not about intimacy. It was about distraction, about sending a signal to the watcher without making a mistake. He gently took her hand and nodded. "Everything okay, my love?" he repeated, his voice calm, steady. He leaned in and pressed a soft, reassuring kiss to her forehead. Mara's shoulders relaxed slightly, and she smiled faintly, a mix of trust and gratitude in her eyes. Outside, the shimmer paused, almost as if the observer was noting the human's behavior. Elias felt a thrill of excitement mixed with unease. This was the first real test of human ingenuity. The next few hours were tense. Elias and Mara stayed at the observation deck, watching carefully. The shimmer moved closer, but it did not approach aggressively. Instead, it seemed to study every small gesture, every expression. The humans realized that the aliens were not only intelligent, they were curious, calculating, and cautious. "Do you think they understand us?" Mara asked quietly. "Not fully," Elias replied. "They notice our movements, our patterns, maybe even our emotions, but I don't think they understand why we do what we do." Mara tilted her head. "So, we could use that. Our unpredictability, our emotions, they might not be able to process it." Elias smiled. "Exactly. Humans have something no machine or alien intelligence can fully copy: instinct, emotion, intuition. And love," he added softly, squeezing her hand. Mara's eyes glimmered with determination. "Then let's make them see it carefully, but we have to be smart." Over the next day, Elias and Mara performed their routine duties on the station, all while subtly observing the shimmer. Sometimes they worked in silence, sometimes they joked, laughed, or even playfully argued. The aliens recorded everything, trying to make sense of human behavior. But each time the humans did something unexpected, changing their routines, improvising repairs, or showing emotions that no alien technology could fully decode. One moment stood out. Elias was adjusting a power relay in the engineering bay when Mara appeared behind him, holding a small data pad. She waved it teasingly, pretending to scold him for taking too long. Elias laughed, spinning around, and gently bumped her shoulder with his own. They exchanged a quick smile, a silent signal that all was well. Through the observation window, the shimmer paused again. It lingered longer than usual, as if trying to understand why these humans reacted in such unpredictable ways. Elias noticed the pause and whispered to Mara, "They're learning slowly, but they still don't understand what drives us." Mara nodded. "Then we keep showing them our emotions, our decisions, our humanity." By evening, the station's artificial lights reflected softly on the metal walls. Elias and Mara found themselves back at the observation deck, gazing at the swirling storms below. The alien shimmer was still there, just beyond the edge of the station, hovering silently. "You know," Mara said, "I never imagined humans would be watched like this, like we're an experiment." "Maybe we are," Elias admitted, "but it's not a bad thing. If they learn anything from us, maybe they'll understand that humans aren't just survivors. We're creators, thinkers, and most importantly, feelers, and that might be our greatest strength." Mara leaned against him. "Then let's show them together." For the first time, the shimmer moved closer, but not threateningly. It hovered just outside the glass, rotating slowly, as if examining the humans more carefully. Elias and Mara realized that this was their first real contact, silent, cautious, and full of possibility. Elias took Mara's hand and squeezed it. "Whatever happens," he said, "we face it together. That's something they might never predict. That's human." The hours passed. The station hummed quietly with life. Outside, the alien watcher remained, intrigued, observing every gesture, every expression. Elias and Mara prepared their minds for the days ahead, knowing that this silent observer was only the beginning. Even in the cold vacuum of space, warmth existed, in love, in courage, and in the uniquely human spark that no alien, no matter how intelligent, could ever fully replicate. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the station, the shimmer lingered, taking note, learning in its own alien way. The humans were ready. The alien shimmer had stayed near the station all night, silent and patient, like a watchful sentinel. By morning, Elias and Mara realized that it had not attacked or tried to communicate directly. It was simply observing. Elias rubbed his eyes as he stepped onto the observation deck, the soft hum of the station system surrounding him. Mara was already there, staring at the shimmer with a mixture of fascination and concern. "Still there," Mara said quietly. "Yes," Elias replied. He felt a thrill he could not hide. This was unlike anything humanity had faced before, and it's studying us. Every move we make, every gesture, it's learning." Mara frowned. "Do you think it understands us?" Elias shook his head. "Not fully. It notices, records, but humans are unpredictable. Our emotions, instincts, the way we improvise, none of that is logical. That's our advantage." For the next few hours, they watched the alien quietly. The shimmer moved slowly, mimicking the movements of the station's automated drones in some ways, but not perfectly. It lingered at certain windows, paused as if analyzing facial expressions, and sometimes hovered near the engineering bay as if curious about human tasks. Mara leaned closer to Elias. "They think they can understand us by watching, but humans don't follow perfect rules. We improvise, we feel, we act on instinct. That's something no machine or alien can copy." Elias smiled. "Exactly, let's show them." They began testing their advantage in small ways. While performing routine maintenance on the station's power grid, Elias pretended to make a mistake, dropping a tool. Mara, seeing the mistake, reacted with exaggerated surprise and laughter, teasing him playfully. The shimmer paused, hovering closer, clearly recording the behavior. "Look at it," Mara whispered. "It doesn't understand why we act like this, why we laugh at small things, why we notice tiny mistakes. They think logic explains everything, but it doesn't explain humans." Over the next day, Elias and Mara continued their careful performance. They spoke in soft jokes, laughed at small mistakes, argued lightly over trivial matters, and then made up quickly. The aliens recorded it all, and Elias realized that every human interaction they showed made the shimmer hesitate and shift in unfamiliar ways. It was human emotion, the unpredictable, illogical, yet deeply meaningful nature of human interaction. That was their secret weapon. That evening, as the station's artificial lights cast a soft glow over the metal corridors, Elias and Mara met in the observation deck once again. The shimmer was hovering just beyond the glass, closer than ever before. "Do you think it's learning?" Mara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elias considered it. "Maybe, but not in the way it thinks. It's recording our actions, yes, but it can't fully grasp why we do them. Love, loyalty, humor. It doesn't understand those, yet. And that's our advantage. Humans are more than logic." Mara smiled faintly. "Then we keep showing them." As they spoke, an alarm suddenly sounded in the station. A power fluctuation in one of the outer modules triggered the alert. Elias and Mara exchanged a glance and immediately moved toward the engineering bay. "Could be serious," Elias muttered. "Let's check it out." When they arrived, they found the outer power module flickering with unstable energy. The system had been designed to self-correct, but Elias could see that the anomaly was not random. It had been subtly influenced. Mara frowned. "Someone or something is tampering with it." Elias shook his head. "No human. This is new tech. The shimmer, it's testing us. But it doesn't know how humans solve problems under pressure." Elias set to work, carefully adjusting the power circuits, rerouting energy and making small repairs. Mara assisted him, holding tools, reading schematics, and offering suggestions. The shimmer hovered outside, its movements precise and deliberate. It seemed almost impatient, but Elias could feel it studying their every action. "See," Elias whispered to Mara. "It's trying to understand how we fix problems, but humans improvise, we adapt." Mara nodded. "Then we adapt differently this time. Let's show it something it can't predict." Together, they altered the repair sequence slightly, using unconventional methods that would still stabilize the module but looked chaotic to an outside observer. The shimmer paused, tilted, and lingered. Elias felt a thrill. This was exactly what he had hoped. The aliens could not anticipate human creativity. Within minutes, the power module stabilized. The alarm stopped and the system returned to normal. Elias and Mara exchanged a quick, satisfied glance. "We did it," Mara whispered, "and it watched everything." "Yes," Elias said, a smile spreading across his face. "It recorded, but it still doesn't understand. That's the beauty of being human." The following day, they decided to push their advantage further. They moved through the station performing small acts of human unpredictability. They played soft music through the station speakers, danced awkwardly in the empty corridors, and even staged small mistakes in their routines. The shimmer reacted each time. Sometimes it paused, sometimes it mimicked their movements briefly, then retreated. But it never interfered aggressively. It was curious, careful, and increasingly fascinated. Mara watched it and said, "It's like it wants to learn from us, but it doesn't know how. It can see us, but it can't feel what we feel. That's something no technology can replicate." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Humans survive and thrive because we think, we feel, we improvise, we connect. That's something even the smartest alien intelligence might never fully understand." By evening, Elias and Mara were back at the observation deck. The gas giant below was bathed in golden light from the setting star, and the shimmer hovered just outside the glass, stationary. "It's learning," Mara said softly, "but it doesn't know what to make of us, and that's perfect." Elias smiled, resting his forehead against hers. "We don't have to teach it everything. We just have to keep being human. That's enough." And so the humans continued. They laughed, they improvised, they worked together, and they showed the aliens something no machine could ever replicate. Their humanity, full of emotion, creativity, and unpredictable intuition, was their greatest strength. The alien shimmer lingered through the night, silent but attentive. It had learned that humans were unlike anything it had ever observed. They were not machines. They were not predictable. They were alive in ways that defied analysis. Elias and Mara felt a quiet sense of triumph, but they also knew this was only the beginning. The aliens were patient. They were intelligent. and they were still watching. Yet humanity had an advantage that no alien, no matter how advanced, could ever take away. And as long as they stayed together, trusted each other, and acted with both intelligence and heart, they would remain unpredictable, capable, and unstoppable. The shimmer finally moved slightly closer, as if acknowledging the human strength. Elias and Mara held hands, watching it, knowing that this silent observer had just discovered something extraordinary. Humans were special. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the aliens continued their careful observation, unable to fully understand the thing that made humanity exceptional. The space station hummed quietly, its metal walls reflecting the soft glow of Reli's 9 below. For the past 2 days, Elias and Mara had carefully observed the shimmer, the mysterious alien presence hovering just beyond the glass. At first, it had been passive, merely watching, but now it seemed to be more active. Elias stood at the observation deck, watching the shimmer move with a precision that suggested calculation. "It's trying something new," he said. "Look at how it hovers near the docking bay. That's not random." Mara joined him, her brow furrowed. "Do you think it's testing us? Seeing how we react under pressure?" "Yes," Elias replied. "And that's why we need to be careful. Every move we make now is part of the lesson we're teaching it." They had already learned one key fact: the aliens could not fully understand humans. Our humor, our instincts, our emotions, all of it seemed to confuse the shimmer. But that confusion could be used strategically. Later that morning, an alert sounded in the engineering bay. One of the station's environmental control modules had begun fluctuating unexpectedly. Normally, this would have been a simple repair, but Elias knew better. The timing was too precise. The shimmer was pushing, testing their reactions. "Let's see what it wants to learn today," Elias murmured. Mara nodded. "Then we give it a lesson it won't forget." Together, they entered the engineering bay. The module's readings were erratic, with power spikes and drops that threatened the life support system. Elias immediately began analyzing the problem, while Mara prepared the backup systems in case things went wrong. The shimmer hovered just outside the window, observing. Its movements were deliberate, almost impatient, as if it wanted them to fail. But humans thrived under pressure. This was their element. "Here, what we do," Elias said quietly. "We act normal at first. Let it think it's controlling the situation. Then we improvise. That's where humans shine." Mara smiled, understanding instantly. "Got it. We give it control, then take it back." As they worked, Elias pretended to hesitate, frowning at the controls. Mara reacted with concern, slightly exaggerating her movements. The shimmer paused, intrigued. It was clearly trying to analyze their problem-solving process. Then, Elias made a sudden decision. "We reroute the auxiliary circuits manually," he said. "It's risky, but it will stabilize the module faster." Mara's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Elias said with a confident smile. "Watch and follow my lead." They worked in perfect synchronization, their hands moving quickly, efficiently, but not predictably. To the shimmer, their actions must have seemed chaotic, yet the module stabilized. The lights returned to normal, and the air pressure settled. The shimmer lingered longer than usual, hovering near the module. Elias and Mara realized it was trying to process the outcome. But there was nothing illogical about what they had done. It was human intuition in action, and that was something the aliens could not replicate. Over the next few hours, Elias and Mara continued to challenge the shimmer in small ways. They performed maintenance in unconventional patterns, leaving deliberate variations in the system's readings. Sometimes, they would simulate mistakes only to correct them in ways the shimmer could not predict. "See," Elias whispered as they moved through the corridors. "Every time we do something slightly unexpected, it hesitates. That hesitation is proof that humans have an advantage." Mara nodded. "It notices patterns, yes, but humans don't follow patterns perfectly. That's the key." By afternoon, The shimmer began to mimic small human movements outside the observation windows, seemingly trying to blend in or understand. But its mimicry was always slightly off, mechanical, too precise. It lacked the subtle emotion, the unpredictability, the instinct that humans relied on. "That's our edge," Mara said. "We feel, we react, we improvise. It can watch us all day, but it can't truly understand us." Elias smiled. "Exactly. And the more we show it, the more it learns, but not fully. Humans are more than what it can see or record." Later, the shimmer took a bolder step. It moved close to one of the external maintenance drones, subtly interfering with its operation. The drone wobbled in midair and a small panel detached, falling toward the station hull. "Elias!" Mara shouted. "The drone!" Elias reacted instantly, using a magnetic tether to catch the panel before it could hit the hull. "See what I mean?" he said, breathing hard. "It's testing us, pushing the limits, but humans adapt." Mara nodded, still steadying herself. "We improvise, we survive. That's what makes us special." They spent the rest of the day in a careful game of observation and improvisation. The shimmer attempted minor interventions, nudging objects, testing routines, and hovering closer to the station's critical systems. Each time, Elias and Mara responded with creativity, intuition, and calm precision. By evening, they realized that the aliens were learning more than they expected. The shimmer was adapting, but it was still behind. Every time it made a move, the humans could anticipate and outmaneuver it in ways that no rigid logic could predict. That night, Elias and Mara returned to the observation deck, exhausted but exhilarated. The gas giant below glowed softly, its storms moving like great living rivers of color. The shimmer hovered nearby, almost reverent in its silent observation. "You know," Mara said, leaning against the glass, "I think it's starting to respect us, or at least it's realizing we're not simple creatures to be studied." Elias nodded. "Yes, it's learning, but it can't grasp the most important things, our instincts, our feelings, our bonds. That's something no alien intelligence can replicate." Mara smiled faintly. "Then let's make sure we show it every day. Our creativity, our courage, our love. That's what makes humans exceptional." Elias took her hand, feeling the warmth and strength in her grip. "Together, nothing can stop us. Not aliens, not the harshness of space, not even the unknown." For hours, they watched the shimmer, realizing that this silent observer had become more than just a curiosity. It was a challenge, a test, and a reminder of everything that made humans extraordinary. The next morning, the shimmer took another bold step. It moved directly into the station's outer docking bay, where cargo pods were being transferred. Elias and Mara rushed to the controls, ready to respond. "Remember," Elias said, "act natural. Let it think it's in control. Then we improvise." Mara nodded, her eyes focused. "We've done this before. We can do it again." As the shimmer moved closer to the cargo pods, Elias and Mara coordinated their actions flawlessly. They adjusted robotic arms, stabilized modules, and rerouted power in ways that seemed almost spontaneous. The shimmer paused repeatedly, clearly surprised by their efficiency and unpredictability. Finally, the docking operation completed successfully. Elias and Mara exchanged a brief, triumphant glance. They had passed the test once again. "Every day," Elias said, exhaling, "we show them what humans can do. They can study us, but they can't replicate us. And that's our greatest strength." Mara rested her head on his shoulder. "Then we keep showing them. Every day, every move, every choice, that's human." As night fell over the station, the shimmer hovered nearby, almost reverently. It was learning, adapting, trying to understand, but it still had not grasped the full essence of humanity, and that was exactly as it should be. Elias and Mara knew that the real power of humans lay not in technology, not in strength, but in unpredictability, intelligence, and connection. These were the qualities that made humans unique, capable, and respected, even by beings from another world. Outside the glass, the shimmer paused, recording one last moment of the day. Elias and Mara held hands, standing together, looking at the swirling storms of Reli's 9. They were human, and that was more than enough. The next morning on the station began like any other, with the hum of machinery and the quiet chatter of human voices. But Elias and Mara could feel the difference immediately. The shimmer was closer than ever, moving with a deliberate precision that hinted it was no longer just observing. It was testing boundaries. "Something's different," Mara said as she watched the shimmer from the observation deck. "It's not just watching anymore. It's interacting." Elias nodded, studying the movement. "Yes, I've never seen it do that before. It's trying to push us, to see what we do when we're challenged directly." The humans had already learned that unpredictability and improvisation were their greatest strengths. But now the shimmer's actions required more than improvisation. They needed strategy. By mid-morning, an alarm echoed through the station. The cargo bay doors, normally locked and controlled remotely, began cycling erratically. Lights flashed and sensors triggered automated warnings. "It's trying something," Elias said immediately. "It wants to see how we react under pressure." Mara took a deep breath and followed him to the cargo bay control station. "Then let's give it a show it won't forget," she said. Together they assessed the system. The cargo doors were failing to lock, their programming overridden by an unseen force. Elias realized instantly, this was not a malfunction, it was deliberate. The shimmer was testing their problem-solving under extreme stress. "We can't just follow protocol," Elias said. "It expects us to fail if we act predictably. We need to think beyond the rules." Mara nodded. "Then we break the rules, human style." They split tasks. Mara worked on rerouting the manual override system, while Elias synchronized auxiliary power supplies to stabilize the doors. The shimmer hovered just outside the large viewport, observing every move. It followed them closely, hovering near the exposed maintenance rails as if curious about the humans' coordination. "Watch this," Elias whispered. He intentionally made a small error in the override sequence, faking hesitation. Mara noticed immediately and corrected it in real time, her quick thinking saving the system from locking down completely. The shimmer paused, clearly intrigued. Its movement slowed as it hovered near the malfunctioning doors, almost studying the humans' dynamic interaction. It was not used to cooperation based on emotion, trust, and instinct. "Did you see that?" Mara said quietly. "It doesn't understand why we work together this way. It expects individual logic, not trust and intuition." Elias smiled. "Exactly. That's what makes humans unpredictable. Our connections, our instincts, they can't replicate it. And that's our advantage." By noon, they had stabilized the cargo bay, but the shimmer was not done. It began sending subtle pulses through the station's communication lines, disrupting automated systems and testing sensor responses. Lights flickered in the corridors, alarms triggered in engineering, and the station's internal drones hesitated in their routines. Mara leaned close to Elias. "It's escalating. It wants to see how humans respond to chaos." "Then we give it something it can't predict," Elias replied. "We adapt, improvise, and stay calm. That's human advantage number one, resilience." They moved through the station, responding to each minor disruption with skill, intuition, and creativity. Where the shimmer tried to force predictable patterns, the humans improvised solutions in real time. A drone was misdirected in the cargo bay. Mara manually guided it using magnetic tethers. Lights flickered in engineering. Elias rerouted the power flow while still keeping the system online. Every time, the shimmer reacted, attempting to mimic human adjustments but always falling short. Its precision lacked intuition. Its logic lacked flexibility. As evening approached, Elias and Mara decided to take the final step in turning the experiment around. They knew the shimmer had been observing human collaboration and problem-solving. They realized they could use it to teach the aliens something profound, not just about tasks and routines, but about human values. We show it cooperation, but not just efficiency, Mara said. We show it why humans do what we do. Elias nodded. Exactly. Our ingenuity is nothing without our hearts, our bonds, our instincts. Let's show it everything humans are capable of. They staged a scenario that was both a challenge and a demonstration. Using a combination of manual overrides, rerouted power systems, and simulated emergencies, they created a complex situation in which the Shimmer could observe human strategy, teamwork, and emotional decision-making. The Shimmer hovered closely, following every movement. Elias and Mara moved seamlessly through the station, coordinating with precision but also using gestures, eye contact, and subtle signals that the aliens could not interpret. "Look at that," Mara whispered. "It's trying to follow our plan, but it doesn't understand why we communicate this way." "Yes," Elias replied. "Logic alone can't explain trust, intuition, or care, and that's the lesson humans bring, emotion and intellect combined." By nightfall, they had completed the scenario successfully. Systems were stabilized, drones were back online, and the cargo bay was fully operational. The Shimmer hovered near the observation deck, motionless. Elias and Mara realized it had stopped trying to manipulate the station. For now, it was watching in a new way. In the quiet that followed, Elias and Mara sat together, reflecting on the day's events. "We didn't just survive," Mara said softly. "We taught it. We showed it humans are more than problem solvers. We showed it our instincts, our connections, and our creativity." Elias nodded. "Yes, and every time it tests us, we show it something new. Humans are unpredictable, but in the best way. That's what makes us exceptional." Outside, the Shimmer remained near the station, but there was a subtle difference in its movement, less probing, more observant, almost contemplative. It had begun to understand that humans were not simply beings to analyze. They were something deeper, creatures who combined intelligence, emotion, and adaptability in a way no alien logic could replicate. Mara leaned her head on Elias' shoulder. "Do you think it respects us?" she asked. Elias smiled faintly. "Not respect in the way we understand it. But it knows now that humans are extraordinary. That's enough." For the rest of the night, the station hummed quietly. The Shimmer hovered silently, and Elias and Mara watched it, feeling a mixture of triumph and anticipation. This was only the beginning. The aliens were intelligent, patient, and still learning. But humans had an advantage they could never take away: instinct, emotion, and ingenuity. As they watched the gas giant swirl below, Elias whispered, "Together, we're stronger than anything they can throw at us." "And that's human," Mara smiled, holding his hand tightly. "Then we keep showing them every day, every action, every choice." The Shimmer stayed outside the observation deck, motionless but attentive, as if acknowledging the humans' achievement. It had learned something profound, not about systems or tasks, but about the heart of humanity itself. And somewhere deep in the vastness of space, the aliens continued their observation, trying to grasp the unpredictable brilliance of the species they had encountered. Elias and Mara sat quietly holding hands, knowing that their humanity, unpredictable, intelligent, and full of emotion, was their greatest weapon. It was a lesson the aliens would never forget. The station was unusually quiet the next morning. After days of careful observation, improvisation, and strategic interactions, Elias and Mara could feel a shift in the Shimmer's behavior. It no longer hovered aggressively or tested the station's systems. Instead, it lingered near the observation deck, moving slowly, almost deliberately, as if trying to understand something it could not. Elias ran a hand over his face. "It's different today," he said, his voice low and thoughtful. "It's still watching, yes, but there's something else in the way it moves." Mara leaned on the glass beside him, her green eyes following the Shimmer. "I think it's learning, not just about the station or our systems, but about us, About humans. Yes, Elias agreed. It's beginning to see that we're not just problem solvers. We're creators, thinkers, and more than that, we're emotional, intuitive, connected. That's something no alien intelligence can replicate fully. For the past 4 days, humans and the alien observer had engaged in a subtle, silent dialogue. The shimmer had tried to provoke, manipulate, and even test them directly. Each time, Elias and Mara had responded with ingenuity, teamwork, and, most importantly, human unpredictability. Today, it seemed the alien had paused its experiments, watching quietly instead. By mid-morning, a new challenge appeared. The station's communications system experienced unexpected interference. Normally, such interference would have triggered automatic alerts and forced human intervention. But the interference was not random. It had a subtle pattern, almost as if the shimmer were testing the human's ability to detect logic in chaos. Elias examined the system. It's sending signals we can trace, but they're embedded in layers of misleading data. Someone or something wants to see if humans can untangle it. Mara smiled faintly. Then we untangle it, human style. Working together, they analyzed the communication channels. Elias rerouted signals, corrected the interference manually, and adjusted the station's relay satellites. Mara followed his lead, identifying false pathways and predicting where the next interruption might occur. The shimmer hovered near the window, observing. It moved in precise patterns, perhaps attempting to anticipate their actions. But humans were unpredictable, even to themselves at times. Elias and Mara adapted in real time, responding not just logically but instinctively, guided by experience, intuition, and trust in each other. By noon, the interference was fully resolved. Communications returned to normal, and the station systems hummed smoothly once again. The shimmer lingered nearby, closer than ever before. Elias and Mara noticed its slow, deliberate movements. It was no longer testing their reactions aggressively. Instead, it seemed almost respectful. As afternoon arrived, Elias and Mara decided to take a bold step. They realized that the shimmer had been studying not only human problem-solving, but also human relationships, instincts, and emotions. Its inability to replicate human behavior had become apparent. They could use this to show it the full range of what made humanity extraordinary. Let's give it a lesson in humanity, Elias whispered to Mara. Not just intelligence or skill, but who we are. Why we do what we do. Mara nodded. Agreed. Let's show it trust, loyalty, teamwork, and creativity. Let's show it what makes us human. Together, they orchestrated a demonstration of human ingenuity and emotional intelligence. They created a simulated emergency across the station, involving multiple systems, the environmental modules, the cargo bay, and internal drone operations. But unlike the shimmer's previous tests, this scenario was carefully controlled. Every move was a lesson in adaptation, creativity, and cooperation. The shimmer hovered at the observation windows, watching intently. Elias and Mara moved fluidly through the station, coordinating through gestures, eye contact, and quick decisions. Where a machine or alien intelligence might act purely on logic, they acted on instinct, trust, and shared understanding. Mara guided a drone through a complex sequence, while Elias rerouted power to stabilize the cargo bay. At the same time, they manually adjusted environmental controls to maintain life support, all while keeping the emergency scenario active. Each action was unpredictable but effective, a perfect display of human capability. The shimmer followed every move, attempting to predict and replicate, but always falling short. It could mimic movements, perhaps even solve parts of the tasks logically, but it could not grasp the underlying connection, intuition, and emotional drive that guided the humans. By evening, the scenario concluded successfully. All systems were stabilized and the station's artificial lights returned to a soft, calm glow. Elias and Mara collapsed into chairs at the observation deck, breathing heavily but triumphant. "It's different," Mara said, still watching the shimmer. "It's not testing us anymore. It's just observing." "Yes," Elias said, "and I think it's starting to understand. Not everything, but enough to know that humans are unique, that we're more than logic, more than efficiency. We're something it can't replicate." The shimmer hovered near the observation window, moving slowly in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Elias and Mara realized it was acknowledging their capability. Perhaps it had even begun to respect the humans, recognizing that they were extraordinary in ways no alien logic could fully understand. Mara leaned her head on Elias' shoulder. "Do you think it respects us?" Elias smiled softly. "Not in the way we define respect. But it knows now that humans are exceptional, and that knowledge is enough." Night fell over the station. The gas giant Rayleigh's 9 swirled below in magnificent patterns of color and light. The shimmer hovered silently, motionless yet attentive. Elias and Mara sat quietly, hands intertwined, reflecting on the lessons of the past days. "We've done more than survive," Mara said softly. "We've shown it who we are. Our creativity, our courage, our connection, everything humans are capable of." "Yes," Elias replied. "And every day we keep showing it. It can watch, it can record, it can try to analyze, but it can never truly replicate the essence of humanity. That's our strength. That's why we endure, why we adapt, and why we succeed where others might fail." Outside, the shimmer lingered near the observation deck. Elias and Mara noticed its slow, deliberate movements. It was still learning, still observing, but something had changed. The alien presence was no longer a threat. It had become a silent witness, perhaps even a student of humanity. "We've earned this," Mara whispered. "Not just survival, but recognition in its own way." Elias nodded. "Yes. And as long as we stay human, intelligent, adaptable, emotional, and connected, there will always be an advantage no alien, machine, or challenge can take away." The next morning, the shimmer finally moved in a way that Elias and Mara had never seen before. It hovered near the station, then drifted slightly closer to the docking bay, rotating slowly as if giving a deliberate signal. It did not interfere or manipulate any systems. Instead, it seemed to acknowledge the humans' skill and ingenuity. Elias and Mara exchanged a glance. "It's acknowledging us," Elias said, a smile spreading across his face. "It understands now that humans are remarkable." Mara squeezed his hand. "Then our work here is done, for now. But the lesson remains: humans are unique, unpredictable, and capable of extraordinary things." They walked through the station, checking systems and ensuring stability. Everywhere they went, the shimmer followed, silent and observant. But it no longer carried the sense of testing or threat. Instead, it moved as though curious, respectful, and contemplative. By midday, Elias and Mara returned to the observation deck. They gazed out at the swirling storms of Rayleigh's 9, feeling the quiet triumph of humans recognized for their ingenuity, creativity, and spirit. "Do you think it will tell others about us?" Mara asked quietly. Elias shrugged, smiling. "Perhaps, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we've proven ourselves. Humans are more than what anyone or anything can predict. That's the greatest lesson we can give." Outside, the shimmer lingered one last time, recording the humans' calm confidence and quiet strength. It moved slowly, almost reverently, as if acknowledging the exceptional nature of the species it had observed. Elias and Mara sat together, holding hands, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the station's artificial lights. They were human, adaptable, clever, emotional, and courageous. They had survived the tests, outwitted observation, and proved that humanity's greatest strength was not technology, but the combination of heart, mind, and instinct. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the shimmer continued its silent watch, carrying the knowledge that humans were extraordinary, beings whose unpredictability, ingenuity, and emotional depth could never be fully understood, but must always be respected. The station hummed quietly around them. The gas giant below roared with its eternal storms, and the shimmer floated gently in orbit, still watching, still learning. Elias turned to Mara and whispered, "Together we're unstoppable. That's human." Mara smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "Then let's keep showing them, every day, every action, every choice." And in the quiet hum of the station, humanity's triumph, its ingenuity, courage, and spirit, stood as a testament not just to survival, but to what made them truly exceptional. The shimmer remained, silent and attentive, a witness to the extraordinary nature of the human race. Humans had earned respect. Humans had earned their place among the stars.